In this video, I'm going to walk you through the process that I use when I'm pulling images from video that I've shot. For my professional work and other personal work, I do use a Canon R5 Mark II. I also have a Mark I, but a lot of times I like to use the RED Raptor that I have, as well as the Komodo X, and use those to take still images or obviously shoot video, but being able to pull the images out of the video, it is just so much fun. I don't know why I get such a kick out of it. The color science, the 16-bit color, has so much more room for maneuvering the colors than in a stills camera. It's really fun to play around with that. Also having more dynamic range, with the Raptor having up to 17 stops of range versus like 14 stops of range or something around there. I can't remember what the Canon is, but most cameras are in the 14 stops dynamic range, I believe. So there's just more room to push these images all over the place. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of clips here that I've shot and show you how I edit these. Okay, so I've got DaVinci opened up here, and you can get the free version of DaVinci, so you can edit your photos in DaVinci Resolve. There are benefits to doing it this way. It's just a different workflow, and you have some other options that you can play with. Inevitably, I end up running everything through Photoshop to clean things up, take out trash or remove things or whatever. But in this instance, so I've got a couple of shots here lined up. So I'm going to just take this shot here that I shot and drop that in there to my library. I'm going to go over to the edit page, grab that clip, drop it onto the timeline. And you can see here, as I scrub through this, just this short little clip. And at any point, I can just move the video here. I'm going to take that car that's moving right here. You can see that. I'm just going to move that down just a little bit and hide it right about there. And I'm going to grab this from here. So I'm going to go over to the color page here. I'm going to move this into clip so that with this I can move the ISO around on this particular clip and see where I want to start. And I think I'm going to start somewhere around there. Just bump that up a little bit. Let's just adjust the color temperature, make that red, the red lights there on the bridge pop a bit more. If we go too far, it becomes a bit orange. So we're going to just stay somewhere around there. Adjust the tint. Something like that looks good. When you're there, the red light on that bridge really, really stands out. Okay, so from here, we're going to jump back to the color wheels. I'm just going to bump the contrast up here and play around with this, and let's see how this looks. And I'm really going for this, I'm going for something moody, really moody. I want it to really look gritty. But at the same time, I'm going to pull up my shadows just a bit. Let's push the gain on this. Let's see. Now you can see here in my parade, the red channel here is clipping pretty good. So I'm going to just knock that down a bit here. And I'm okay with some of that clipping because obviously that is going to be the red lights that are on the bridge here. But let's just move this around a bit. Get it somewhere there so that my reds are just ever so slightly the highest parts are clipped, which I don't really care about in this instance. And we'll just bump the contrast a bit more here. And that to me is looking pretty cool. Now I know that if I move in here with the Raptor has amazing low light capabilities. It phenomenal. So zooming in here, there is going to be some noise in the sky. I'm not seeing any noise in here that is aggressive or offensive. Mostly, if I really open this file up, I'm going to see it in the sky here, in the blues here. But in this instance, it isn't that bad. One of the ways that I could deal with whatever noise is there, like if we take this and really crank this, you can see there is some noise in there, but to me, that's not even really that offensive. But if I was offended by it, then I would hit Option Y. That's going to give me a combiner splitter node, I believe it's called. And what that does here is that splits this into your red, green, and blue channels. Now, having edited this one already, I'm just going to go ahead and cheat. I already know that most of the noise is in the green channel here. So I would take this green channel, select this. I'd come over here to my noise reduction, and I would take my spatial threshold and bump this up quite a bit. We'll move this to enhanced. And then this temporal noise reduction here, just move it to 1 frame here. And we're going to move the motion estimated type is going to be moved to better. And then we'll just give that a little bit there. Now, I know that that's cleaned that up. So I'm going to leave that as is there. And that, honestly, that's pretty much all I would really change to this. And, the beautiful thing here is, I've already got it here, but I'll do it again. Now that I've gone and made my adjustments here, I'm going to take this, right click, grab still, and you can see that my computer is slow. Every time I use these combiner splitter here, man, does it ever slow it down. But so now we've got this here. I can right click on the still that I've yanked from there, export with display LUT. Click that. I'm going to just type this bridge night, leave it on the desktop, export that. And now we've got our selection right here. I can take that, drop that into Photoshop, and pick up with whatever modifications that I want to make to the photo going forward. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and this exports with these black bars on top here. I was shooting this at a 17:9 crop ratio, so you end up with these black bars here. So I'm just going to crop those out. I'm going to hit Option and hold that, click it, crop that out. And there we go. So if we go and zoom in and look, there is a fine grain in the sky here, but I actually quite like that. It is ever so fine. And right now I'm zoomed in at 200%. So if we come back out here and have a look at this, to me, this looks super cool. This is super dark. I know there's some people's tastes would want to see more into the shadows. I kind of like, how dark this is here. It really fits the mood. It's almost like a natural vignette without having to put a vignette on it. So there's only a few things here that I would actually want to clean up. And one of them would be, I'm just going to duplicate the layer, Command J. I'm going to grab, hit the letter J and grab my healing brush here. And I'm just going to get rid of this little piece of trash here. Okay, took care of that. Now, right here, you can see my shadow. It comes up like that. So right there is my shadow. I would typically get rid of that. However, there's so many other shadows from all of this stuff here. I don't think it really matters. And honestly, if I didn't point it out, are you really going to know this shadow was me? And for the sake of this video, I'm not going to really spend the time getting rid of this, but that could be something that I would want to get rid of. One of the other things that is a little bit odd with this is you can see right here, we've got this purple, violet, magenta, whatever color here. And that was some of the LEDs when you go down this bridge here are malfunctioning. So what I would do with that, I would just grab a hue saturation. I'm going to select the offender. I'm going to shift that somewhere around there. And let's just see if we just, something like that, you know, you can barely even tell. That doesn't draw the eye at all. It might a little bit, being that this is a brighter spot right here. So what I would do with that, I'd grab a curves adjustment here. I would just darken that down a bit. I'm going to take my mask here, Command I to invert that. Take my brush. I'm going to zoom in. And I'm just going to use a soft brush, 100% opacity, 47% flow. And I'm just going to, I'm going to hit the letter X here to switch my foreground background. So now I can paint. And I'm just going to darken that down just a hair. Something like that. So now I've got that, and I can just tweak this here. Pull down on this curve. Yeah, right in there. Right in there looks just fine by me. I'm going to back up here. Some of the, on this beam here, you can see there's some bird shit. So I'll come back to this layer here. I'm going to hit the letter J again. And I'm just going to touch this up here. And probably just there. This is pretty gritty in person. There's a lot of paint peeling off of this bridge. So I think for the most part, I'm going to just leave this as is. You know, if there was more things that were offending me, obviously I'd work on it. But for the most part, I'm going to just leave this as is. And the amount of information that you get in these files is absolutely insane. You can see right now, 357 megabytes for this file. 350, like there's a crazy amount of information in there. Obviously, this file's a little bit bigger because I've duplicated it. So I'm going to hit Command-Shift-E, flatten this right down. And even with this, 178 megabytes for this file. Massive amount of information that you can play with. And that is right there. That is why I love shooting with the RED, is just the amount of information that you get out of this. One of the other things about the RED also is they don't do any internal sharpening. So you have to do the sharpening on your own after. So I'm going to hit Command-J, duplicate the layer. I'm going to come up here and let's try sharpen, unsharp mask. And let's just, actually, let me cancel that. I'm going to zoom in and I'm just going to be looking at all the rivets here and the grading here. I shot this, I believe I shot this wide open at 1 point something or 2. So it's pretty shallow. You can see here we're getting a little bit soft, and then all the way back it just progressively gets softer. So I'm just going to focus on this front part here. Filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. And let's just have a look at what we got going on here. So right off the hop, on, off. There's just a little bit of sharpening there. Let me take this a little bit more here. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I don't really want to do much else to that. I don't want to introduce any more noise. that would be noticeable. And honestly, I don't think it needs any more than that. And that's it. I mean, there's really not much else I'd really want to do to this file. I'm pretty happy with the way it is. Okay, so here in RED Cine-X, I've got another image pulled up here. We shot this, last summer, we went on family vacation down to Los Angeles, and we went to the Santa Monica Pier. And I walked around shooting a bunch of video here, not knowing what I'm going to do with this footage. If anything, I was going to use it for, maybe I put together some little video of our family on vacation that we can all look back on. But also, it gives me that option to be able to pull stills out of here that I can, hang on a wall, which in fact, this particular shot right here, I have hanging in another room. So this was shot with the Komodo X, which has it's a Super 35 sensor compared to the Raptor, which has a VistaVision sensor. But still, it has the 16-bit color, still has the same dynamic range. It is phenomenal what you can get out of this. So I believe it's an 18 megapixel sensor coming out of the Komodo X. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's roughly around 18 megapixel. But even with 18 megapixel, like if we go full screen with this, that's zero sharpening added to it. So if we come back out, bring this to full screen here, and let's go through creating a look for this. So I'm going to click this off here. This is the bypass IPP2 output transform. So this is RED's color workflow. So I'm going to take that off so that we're using RED's color workflow. And the colors in here look amazing. However, this looks a little bit overblown. Not to worry, ISO with the RED cameras is just metadata. So we can pull that back and we still have all that color information. All our highlights are intact, our shadows, everything's great. And we can move this around anywhere we want. So I'm going to move this down to about 500 because I'm looking at the sky and I want the brightest part of the sky here. I still want some color information in that area, and I'm going to worry about the shadows and everything from here. So I'm going to come down here. We've got this alchemy group, which is a way of contrasting within this piece of software. If we take this, and it's already pretty contrasty with this shadow stuff under the pier here, which I want to open up. I want this to feel like a really hazy summertime day. So I'm going to yank this back, which if I open it right up, it's like way too much. So I'm going to pull that back somewhere about there. I'm going to come back up here. First I'm going to take my output transform here. I'm going to move the contrast to low contrast, and I'm going to make my highlight roll off very soft. And already we're starting to get that really hazy summertime look, which, oh God, living in Canada here in the winter, you can't wait for that. I'm going to push up my shadows a little bit here. That's going to open everything up in here, give it that kind of faded look. And then push those highlights a bit more. Somewhere, something like that. Maybe I'm going to come back and do my highlight roll off, move that back to soft. That adds a little bit more contrast. I'm liking that right there. So yeah, right there, that looks fantastic. Now, as far as sharpening, come down here to unsharp mask. Let's just the bare minimum. Yeah, there's nothing there. So we're going to take this. I'm going to move up my radius a little bit. Push the amount of sharpening here up. And then we're going to click. Yeah, that really sharpens up all those railings. Yeah, right in there. I'm really liking that. Really liking that. Okay, so let's move this back to fit both. And then from here, I would move this over to Photoshop to adjust colors and whatnot more. In here, you can color grade with Red Cine-X, and you can, move this all around. Personally, I don't really like to do it too much in here. I feel like there's more control in Photoshop. So in this particular situation, right down here, this snapshot button takes that snapshot there from the video. And let's just go Santa Monica. And we're going to put that on the desktop. Save that there. So this is going to output a TIFF. And you will see when we move over to the TIFF, let's see, yours truly here. Let's drop this TIFF into Photoshop here. And so, yeah, even out of a Komodo X, you're getting basically 114 megabyte file coming out of here. So I'm going to duplicate the layer here. And from here, I don't really think there's anything I really want to zoom in on and remove. So I'm just going to leave this all how it is. I am going to take and go to selective color. And I'm going to start playing around with the colors here. And let's see what we can yank this stuff around here. First off, let's go up and down and see for the reds what we're going to end up affecting here. Now I want like a real faded summertime look. And naturally, let's reset this. I like naturally all these umbrellas, they were all very pastel and faded. Everything's been bleached by the sun. So we don't have to go far to achieve this look, but to see where this particular color, this red, I don't want to darken it down because it's going to make that pop a little too much. I'm going to leave the brightness of it up where it's at, but I am going to push the color around here. And I think I'm going to push a little bit more of the red. Just move these around and see where we're at. That gives, so we're going to, let's do that. So then let's move to the, the yellows. I can't click here. What do we got for yellows here? So we're going to be affecting quite a bit. The beach, trees, roller coaster in the background. So let's darken it down a bit. I'm going to push the yellow a little. I'm going to push more red into that yellow. And then maybe just a touch of green. And then pinch of yellow, push that there. Go through the greens here. What do we got here? Okay, so we're affecting the water. And the water has like quite a bit of green in it, but I want to move that more cyan. So we're going to push hard on the cyan. And let's see if we push green. So let's put more magenta in there and then push the blue. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a nice, we're leaning more into that aqua. Really like that. Very cool. Cyan, now we got an opportunity to push that cyan even more. Ooh, right in there. No, I think actually for this, we'll leave it somewhere right around there. And then the blue somewhere in there. And we'll brighten it up. Hit the hard blues here. Let's see. What are we affecting? Might actually fade that blue a bit by brightening it a bit. Yeah, I can see it's affecting mostly this building in the background here. we're just going to leave that where it is. Magentas, probably in the umbrellas there. So let's fade those a bit. Very, very limited amount of movement in this particular color. Let's fade that a bit. Yeah. Okay, and then we'll grab the highlights here. Let's brighten up that summer day right there. Grab our neutrals, our mids. Somewhere, ooh, you know, it's tough. I kind of like a little bit of contrast. Let's see. Let's just push up the mids a bit and let's see, pull in the blacks. The blacks might be a little harsh. Yeah, just +3. That looks good there. And there we have it. I think I'm pretty happy with that. That looks like a nice summertime day. It looks like somewhere you'd want to be right now, especially finishing out the end of winter here. So that wraps up my workflow on these images. It's a quick work through. There's not really much to do to these images. There's not really much of a goal here. I was just running around shooting this particular day in Santa Monica. So it's not like this is a work of art that I'm really crafting. It's more about just adjusting colors and whatnot. So if you like this episode, you know, leave a comment below, like, subscribe, and let me know if there's anything else you want to see how I work through any of my images. And outside of that, thanks for watching.